Our reporter Cheko Moahi has been tracking that story. She joins us now in studio for more. So the NPA has a lot of explaining to do today. What did they say?
Well, the main thing for them is that, as you mentioned, it is provisionally withdrawn. So it's not gone away completely at this point in time. They are waiting for the state capture inquiry to actually complete its work, and then the charges could then be reinstated. But I did speak to Pindilo from the NPA, and this is what she had to say.
It's quite simple. The reason the NPA decided to provisionally withdraw the charges against Mr. Duduzane Zuma is because one of the key witnesses in this case is still under oath at the state capture inquiry, and the prosecutors in this case then decided that it won't be in the interest of justice to continue these processes parallel.
So what is then the next step? You just wait for the commission?
Well, as I've indicated earlier on, that it is just a provisional withdrawal to allow that process to unfold and be concluded. And once that is done, the prosecutors will be in a position to reinstate the charges against Mr. Duduzane Zuma.
Now, we do know that that could take a while, the state capture inquiry. That could take quite some time. We do know it could be a few years. So what happens then? Is Mr. Zuma free to travel?
Well, remember that Mr. Zuma is also an accused in another case at Randburg, and the bail conditions there were set, whereby he needs to be in contact with the investigating officer. For now, he's not barred from traveling, so long as he's in contact with the investigating officer.
So this, of course, is not the end of the road.
Absolutely not. So we do know that he had appeared at the Randburg Magistrates Court on charges of culpable homicide following that accident a few years ago. And so because of that, as you heard from Pindilo earlier, he then has to speak to the investigating officer, I think, on a daily basis. He'll have to speak to him about if he wants to travel. He can travel at this point in time. But right now, he really is not completely off the hook, because as soon as the state capture is done with its work, then the NPA is saying that they will then reinstate the charges.
Yeah, and he had a long day. I mean, as you can see, he had to come from one case, which is a culpable homicide case, and then to another court. That can't be good for anyone.
Not at all, but he was still his friendly self, speaking to the BLF supporters that were there. He really did seem really calm, and I think it was because, obviously, as we know, that the former president is often with him when he appears in court. So Jacob Zuma was there, and he seemed very calm. He seemed very friendly as well, including the former president. And as they walked into the courthouse, we had to just wait a bit because there was another case in session. So we waited a few minutes, about 15 minutes or so, and then Duduzane's case was then heard. But in between that waiting period, they were very friendly. Duduzane standing up to take photos with BLF supporters and to actually have the media also take photos of him. The former president just laughing at certain things. At some point, he was on his phone and having a really great chat with somebody. So they are really calm about this whole situation. You can just tell in the way that they are. Even when they walked out of their cars, they were like, okay, this is another situation, and they just carried on with life as if they're just at a normal courthouse and the media is not there at all.
Yeah, I saw Jacob Zuma, the former president, actually posted a pic of him and Duduzane on Twitter in a boxing match position, obviously saying that they're ready for a fight. Let's talk about the BLF, though, because they've been there to support Duduzane Zuma from the start. What's the actual link there?
I'm not quite sure of the link, actually, but they are big supporters of the Zuma family. And they did say, when I spoke to them earlier, they did say that they do think that these charges were then provisionally withdrawn because of the situation, that it is political. And, of course, they are just targeting the former president, Jacob Zuma. That's why then they are targeting him via his son. They're saying that there really isn't a case here for Duduzane to answer to. So they really have been supporting Duduzane Zuma throughout every court appearance that he's been to. We know that in Randburg, they've always been there. We even know that there was once a scuffle between AfriForum and BLF. So it is quite an interesting link that they have, and a good connection that they also have, saying that they will continue to support him no matter what happens with the cases that he's facing.
Well, let me tell you why. The BLF was apparently funded by the Guptas, and of course the Guptas and President Jacob Zuma, as well as Duduzane, are all tied together. So that's the actual link there. Thanks so much for that. Appreciate it. Our reporter Cheko Moahi.